Hey, I am the Mad Libertarian. This is Mad Dodge Productions. We're going to do a little thing differently here. We're hanging out here in Discord, and we're going to listen to a video together. Now everybody else here in the Hangout can hear me. Like I said, we're doing something different here. I'm screen recording the Discord, and we're going to listen to a video together and give our thoughts. Say hello, Memes and Colt.
Hello.
Hello, memes.
There you go.
Hello, Cole.
You smart ass bastards. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and hit play. Okay. This is Steve Shives. It's about the guns. It's about the guns, memes. It's about the guns. Alright.
Said with far greater impact and eloquence than I could ever say. There was another school shooting. This one was in Parkland, Florida. There were 17 people who were killed, and I think something like a dozen more who were wounded. The shooter was a former student. He's been taken into custody. It was just reported by the AP a few hours ago. I noticed before I set up to shoot my various videos today that he had connections to a local white supremacist group.
Okay. I get it. This was probably before they found out that wasn't true. But the fact that he immediately jumps to that, what does that tell you, memes?
Not a white
That,
supremacist?
that tells me he believed what everyone else believed, that it was linked via, I guess, whatever the troll was or whatever on Reddit.
What do you mean everybody else? I didn't believe that.
And by
Well,
a second.
I did see a number of reports, and again, nothing has been confirmed, but those were the initial reports. Depending on when this video was made, that was probably what he had heard.
Yeah, that could be what he heard, but, why are they not out screaming a hashtag not all white supremacist?
Well, no, and the fact remains, if you immediately jump to that conclusion, don't you think you have a initial bias?
Yeah, that's my point.
Well,
They always do that with Buzz.
another dude actually also claimed credit for it. He was trying to help promote his group too. So again, depends on the timing.
Yeah, you have to watch them.
I mean, sometimes some things may, even if we all have our logos, but it's just whoever has it. It's just sometimes things do actually fit whatever your narrative is.
Yeah.
It ended up being fake, but
I think I got a delay here going on, but you have to be careful about, people claiming credit for something because you have 20-year-olds going out and they'll go to the police and proclaim that they're the Zodiac killer, even though that shit ended before they were ever born. Some people will claim anything just to try and gain power. But why weren't they out in arms, like they would have been if you would have said that they may be linked to terrorism or ISIS, right? It's okay when their collective protected group does it, but they have no problem jumping to conclusions and rallying the right and rallying. Oh, look, you're all the same. Whenever it's the quote other team.
Well, yeah, that's my point. Is you just jump to conclusions and want to take the guns. That's where I draw a line. We'll go ahead and hit play here, though. Let's hear Steve out. He's not talking through Stuffy this time. Let's hear him out.
Not terribly surprising, honestly. The thing that grieves me the most about this in the big picture, the thing that grieves me the most, obviously, is the suffering and the death and just the needless loss of life.
You're full of shit.
Shooting.
You're full of shit, Steve. But anyway.
But in the big picture, what upsets me the most,
yes, everyone feels it sad
is
that they
how
died.
so many people are either actively pushing or sitting back and sort of being content with this sort of thing just being normal, just being normalized. I commented on 2 other school shootings.
Okay. First off, school shootings are not normal. And fuck you for saying they are.
We are seeing a lot, or we're at least hearing about.
No, actually, what they're doing is what they always fucking do. They take especially in the media circles, they take a rare instance and blow it so far out of fucking proportion that no one stops. It's sad when it happens. It's sad when anyone fucking dies. It really does. It really breaks my heart when I see this shit. But you have to fucking look at reality, right? Look at the reality that on average 9 kids die each year from school shootings. And that's not just, the Parklands and different ones. That's just, one-on-one or whatever. On average, about 9 kids die from a, quote, mass shooting where they shot more than one person. And 1,000 kids die every year of foodborne illnesses, both preventable, but we don't hear them out rallying fucking hashtag ban all food, now do we?
That's still 1,009 too many.
I'd agree, but there's a certain amount of reality that some shit is just going to fucking happen, and some people are just fucking crazy. And
and the reality to me equates to this, and it's really simple, memes. It's really simple. Do we have the right to bear arms? My answer is yes. And at that point, your argument about school shootings that happens 9 kids maybe a year, I would argue with that number. I would argue that number's too high, to be honest. And you want to argue with me about that to ban AR-15s or to ban anything over a .22 caliber rifle? No, sir, you're wrong.
But let me argue Iron Man the alternative viewpoint here. But why do you need your guns? It's not like the hero with the gun is a fallacy. It's just a myth.
I live in an area with mountain lion, bear, and we hunt elk. That would be why I would need a 308. Also, if you want to really argue it, I am the mad libertarian, and I will say it. I want a gun to shoot a tyrannical government. Fuck them. They can't stomp on my rights when I own a gun.
I want a gun to shoot a Triceratops.
Yes.
There you
go. There's at minimum 500,000 people's lives are saved every year with defensive gun use, according to the official FBI stats.
Well, I would say, no. But basically, all I would say is just, okay, what I kind of hear in his voice is like, well, it seems like just this happens, nothing happens, we say something should happen. Because there was a thing during President Obama after, like, Sandy Hook and stuff like that. It's like, we need to do something. Like, we couldn't even really get stuff out of committee, or at least many things, and that just seems kind of sad. Now we're talking about it under President Trump, which seems kind of bizarre.
Memes, let's have some real talk here for a minute, alright? Not only did my kid participate in the walkout, but the very next day they had a half day. You know what they did during that half day? They had a big meeting in the auditorium. And you know who showed up to present their case? The NAACP. Now, tell me that wasn't planned. Tell me that they are not trying to control our youth. I call bullshit.
Oh, both sides are always trying to control things. The NAACP are well known for creating protest, and then like the NRA are well known for chasing those people to present their counter arguments, because this is a argument and a cycle that's been going around since before I was born. So it's kind of become its own industry.
Well, it's got to be important to people because these folks are donating a lot of their time.
Oh yeah. People donate large amounts of money to protect the Second Amendment from people that donate large amounts of money to try and get rid of it under some of the most dubious reasons I've ever heard. Like, they try to. The most recent one, because Crowder, like, a good example of Steve Crowder, it just within 50 seconds, 54 seconds, it dismantles every single anti-gun argument, typically out there. And so their response to that is like, well, there's no proof that guns, protect from a tyrannical government.
Well, you had said earlier, man, when we were talking, like, if you just have a firearm, if it's just sitting there, it's an object, man. It takes the person to wield. It takes the person to do evil. And that's why, like, for me, it's like the AR-15, again, maybe this is a personal bias, but could I live with that? Sure. I mean, I personally prefer an MP5. That's my preference. But it's just, that's why if you want to do something that could be seen as an infringement upon the Bearing of Rights, that's fine. Propose a constitutional amendment, write it well, and see where it goes if you want to do that. As far as actually reducing these things, a lot of this comes down to, you can say it's mental health. I think it's just, is some of it mental health? Absolutely. But part of it, too, is just folks having a purpose. If you have a purpose in life, you're not going to go out there and butcher a bunch of kids.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, very good point. Let's hit play here before Memes has to bounce.
Yeah.
Just a few weeks ago, in an episode of my Facepalm 5 series, where I said, the worst part is that in the United States, we have gotten to this point where school shootings, it's just something that happens. And we don't even really speak in terms of trying to stop it. People talk about the gun violence debate in the country and how partisan it is and how bitterly divided people on either side are from each other, and it's so difficult to find common ground. And it occurs to me that the only thing most people agree on when a school shooting like this happens is that there's going to be another one before too long. I was listening to the radio this morning. I was listening to NPR. And
I just want to say, of course you fucking were. Of course. NPR. God damn it.
It's all right.
Morning edition, they interviewed a senator. It was Senator Mike Rounds, who is a Republican, the junior senator from South Dakota. And the morning edition host said to Senator Rounds, what do you think Congress can do to address these kinds of shootings, to prevent these sorts of things from happening?
Absolutely nothing.
And Congressman Rounds immediately began speaking in terms of increasing security at schools. He said, it was a lot more difficult for me to get into this radio station to record this interview with you than it is for most people to get into a public school.
All right, so here's another bullshit. All it is because the fucking uneducated left go psychotic whenever the news media picks up and respreads like they do, situations that are, just the likelihoods of them ever actually happening are extremely rare. That's why it makes news. And then you have people like this trying to, push security measures or Trump's ban on bump stock talk or whatever, just basically to appease people.
Well,
because
Colt,
you don't
to be fair, Trump backed off. He's done with that.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying the talk, right? The only reason to even bother is because they're trying to appease the uneducated leftist crowd in reality. And here's the thing that is never brought up that I know of is the fact that when I was a kid, you could get dynamite, no problem. You used it for what's called stumping. Before they had stump breakers in the mountains, you just get a couple sticks of dynamite, strap it to the tree stump, and kaboom. There goes the stump, right? Most kids brought their fucking shotguns and rifles and hunting pistols and ROTC training equipment, which were like 22s, to guns or to school here, like sick in the mountains. It's like, hunting season 7 months of the year. So, and no one ever shot anyone. But yet you want more and more increased security with less and less result, not realizing that the weapon just sits there, like I said off air. It doesn't shoot people. It's people going around shooting people. No matter how long you set a gun there and stare at it, I swear to God, it will. Well, until Skynet happens, it will not get up and walk off and start murdering people. It just won't.
Have we become less human?
I think we've become less of a community as a nation. I think most of the world's become less of a community as just people. I think we're so far from, ever actually talking to each other that we've, those that already have problems, it's so much easier for them to go into mass murder spree than it ever was before.
Sad.
Well, no, and I don't disagree with you. Actually, I agree with you a lot. But, alright, so the NRA is not necessarily fighting for gun rights. Okay, let's get that straight. There's a lot better organizations out there for gun rights than the NRA. But the NRA is an easy target for these people. That's why people like fucking, Shives are aiming at the NRA. But no, the police messed up with Parkland. And when you look at Columbine, there was a lot of warning signs there. When you look at Thurston, which is the one closer to me, which was the first one, actually, memes, just throwing that out there. My buddy actually talked to Kip Hinkle 3 days before the shooting, and he was kind of being a dick. It was like, you're not going to do nothing, just chill out, man, go to bed, and, you'll be fine. 2 days later, he shot up the school. So, I mean, crazy people do what crazy people do. Does that mean you take my gun rights away? No. And we have it enshrined in our Constitution. If you want to try and change that, go ahead. Be my guest. I doubt it'll happen.
There's the other thing, too, right? Because crazy people who are mentally sound enough to figure out how to get weapons to start with, are sound enough to figure out how to either build, or because you can build guns out of spare parts, literally like scrap metals and stuff, or get them illegally off the street. So what you wind up with is putting the guns on the hands of the same legal, law-abiding citizens and ensuring that only criminals and mentally insane people have them.
I think we need better friends. Or to be better friends.
I need better friends. Thank you, memes. I do. But I'm a good friend. That's at least okay. I'm going to hit play again.
It's a need friends that speak English.
I had to buzz a locked door. A security guard had to let me in. I had to register at the desk, and then I had to be escorted up here to the offices by someone else. And in a public school, it's just so much easier for people to get in, and then once they're in, they can do these awful things. And that chilled me. To hear a public servant, an elected representative of the people of the United States, saying, basically, you know what? This is just going to happen. This is a natural state. There's nothing we can do.
Who said that? No, I want to know who he's talking about that said that.
Yeah, I don't know. But no, the whole idea of, having increased security, and that's going to stop something. I don't live in the United States. I live in a place where, all the security walk around with shotguns and M16s, and, you have to go through a bag check and a scanner just to go into a grocery store. And people still get shot, people still get blown up, you know, bad things still happen. Actually, it makes it a easier target because to go through the check, everybody has to stand in a line. So now you're ensuring a maximum body count in a certain area.
There's always diminishing returns on security at a certain point, but a certain amount probably it probably isn't the worst thing. I mean, you always hear the proposition, "Oh, let's get some vets to do the schools and stuff like that." Folks go back and forth. Oh, it's going to cost money. I mean, hey, if you got vets out there and serve their country, and they want to help, whether it's volunteer, whether it's a jobs program, whatever the heck it is, all I know is. I think if my cousin given the opportunity to put in a few hours at his son's school, he'd be more than willing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go ahead and hit play on that note. Good job, memes. I agree totally.
To change these conditions, we just have to better adapt to them. We just have to find more effective ways of barricading people in schools, because there's nothing we can do to stop shooters from trying to get in and murder people. Surely this is just a condition in society that we just have to live with. There's nothing we can do about it. And I'm certainly not saying that given the present condition of the country and given the present state of gun violence in this country that such changes to school security would not be.
Anybody want to take the bet that Shives doesn't own a gun, but Stuffy does?
I would bet Shives never owned a gun, probably has never fired one. I would give half the money that he's never fired one, a full bet that he's never owned one, and I would give me a 4-1 that he's never actually seen a real and loaded one.
So, standard statistical distribution.
Yeah.
Okay.
About the way the leftists go that always want to ban things as a solution.
I'm just saying, I think the teddy bear has more balls than he does. I'm just throwing that out there.
Oh yeah, that's probably true too. Apparently his wife is the one that runs the family there, but that's for another stream. Let's put it that way.
I like Stuffy.
Free Stuffy. Hashtag free Stuffy. That needs to be a thing, man. I'm trying to free that bear.
Prudent. Because it certainly seems very prudent in the face of events like Parkland happening so quickly, so frequently, and with such high losses of life. It certainly seems reasonable to say, well, maybe we should beef up security at schools. Maybe we should make it more difficult for people to
no
enter
gun
the building.
free zone.
You know,
that
maybe
might work.
that's a reasonable thing to do. I certainly would not fight
I got a
against it
story
too
on that one.
strenuously, but should we not be focusing on what we can do about the conditions that have brought us to that place to begin with?
Oh, the conditions
we
are
going
so
to do
horrible. Yeah, you're
About
right,
the situation
Shives. No,
that
you're right.
has forced us to consider making our schools like Fort Knox.
No, you're right. Homeschooling for
We're just going
everybody.
to build thicker walls to
No.
cover
Pause it real
behind, and we're not going to do anything to address this.
So, as I said before, I live in a country where most everywhere, I said everywhere, but it's not true. There are places that have gun-free, well, not technically gun-free zones. They just ain't walking around with armed guards with shotguns and M16s. And the funny thing is every time there's a criminal element that comes in, they don't attack the even grocery stores or the banks with the guns and the armed guards. What they attack and where they kidnap from are other places that don't have guns. Isn't that just weird? It's like the criminals won't abide by the gun-free zone. I don't know what's wrong with them.
Well, yeah, and I think his narrative is totally false. And you know what? Like I was saying, if you don't want the kids going to a school like Fort Knox. I don't either. If my kid's school turned into that, I would homeschool. So, how about you homeschool? Teach Stuffy how to read, Shives. Teach him how to read.
I believe
Yeah, no-
Stuffy is fully literate, and I just think he's looking at it from his perspective, and he sees his perspective as a solution, and he doesn't want to see kids getting shot. So he just has a different perspective.
Am I being too harsh, memes?
No, you just don't want them taking your guns away, which I also understand because of the Second Amendment.
Well, the problem is, right, is, okay, the last shooting, you had the school counselor fail this kid, the FBI failed this kid, the parents fail this kid, the other students fail this kid. He goes crazy, gets a gun somehow, and shoots a bunch of people. And then they want to ban guns and say it's guns that's the problem. I'm sorry, but to me, this is actually evil, and they don't care about, stopping this. What they care about is covering their own butt and their own culpability a lot of times in these things. Because if they can blame guns, then they don't have to look in the mirror.
Damn right. And on that note, we'll hit play again, because I kind of want memes to try and stick it out, and it's really late over there. So I'm going to hit play again.
Situation that has compelled us to erect those walls in the first place? After things like this happen, there are always people who say, and they seem so eager to say this. They seem like they can't be held back from saying, it's not about the guns, it's not about the guns, it's not about the guns. I saw on Twitter earlier today one of the students who actually was there, who was present, tweet.
No, before he uses the student as fodder for his goddamn point, because that is despicable to me. How dare you? I would like to say, the people that say, it's not the gun, it's not the gun, it's not the gun. Yeah, who are they responding to, memes? The people that say, it's the gun, it's the gun, it's the gun, it's the gun, right?
Yeah, so you understand. He's talking about you guys who say it's not the guns. You guys are talking about him, or maybe other folks that maybe share a particular view that say it is the guns, and the cycle perpetuates.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, right, apparently they need school buses apiece before they just realize that it is a cycle, because they have no interest to actually stopping this. They have no interest in stopping the suicides. That was their claim for a reason to take away guns, years before. Let's get rid of guns and we'll reduce suicide rates. As insane as that sounds, it's the same kind of thing. They find any excuse, it seems like, to then say, hey, let's take the weapons. And none of it makes any sense, because if you actually want to solve the problem, which I'm a problem solver, and I get really detailed into what's causing a problem before I prescribe a possible solution. It's not the guns, and it never has been. And most of those that scream this every time you turn around already know that.
Do you truly feel that many of those folks that make those claims, they really don't want to stop this? They want to see kids get killed?
Maybe to push their own political agenda, memes. I hate to say it,
Some
but
of them.
perhaps.
Oh no, there are folks. I don't deny that. That happens on many sides all the time, man. But I don't really think he wants to see kids get shot. I find that very hard pill to swallow.
Him, no. Certain people like him that literally, as I was joking about stats before, which tend to be pretty true. Most of them never owned a gun. Majority have never fired a gun, and a few of them maybe have seen one loaded. Right? They know nothing about the issue, and there are certain people that, let's see, the Young Turks might be a good example, that already know both sides to the argument and are just catering to ignorance to make money. That's a good way to put it. I don't think they want to see it, but they're going to cater to the ignorance of those that, don't know any better in order to say, oh, and by the way, donate to, such and such group at X, Y, and Z place.
Yeah, absolutely. And no, we'll hit play one more time. We'll see a little bit more what he has to say. But I think we've pretty much tackled it at this point. Let's see if he brings up something a little bit different. Never mind. Rhythmbot wants to be a bitch. So it looks like we did tackle this, guys. Um, any last thoughts really on the matter? I mean, Steve Shives sounds like he is legitimately upset. I don't believe his response is a good one. I don't believe his ideas for a solution are valid. But maybe I'm just a dick.
Okay, so I'll give my final thoughts real quick. It sounds like what typically happens anytime you are tackling a problem for the first time. Right? Anytime you're doing anything for the first time, more often than not, you're absolutely wrong and have no idea what you're talking about. But usually if you actually care enough, you will dig into something and find out why you're wrong and find out why things are the way they are. And that's, it's like second level before you even go to like third or fourth level where you're coming up with solutions, let alone maybe unique solutions to a problem. So if he actually cares, maybe you should sit for like, I don't know, 6 months or a year and actually not just read CNN and what they're telling you to think, but do some deep in actual research in a lot of this stuff. And
yeah, no, and watch the Red Eye. I mean, I would definitely encourage him. Watch the Red Eye.
Subscribe to our channels.
Yeah, just the way I see it right now is just. I'll tell a real quick story. Basically, when I went to visit my cousin down in North Carolina, I went there, stayed a night at his boss's house, which his son was away at college. In that room were a shotgun, a rifle or two, a handgun. Slept there. I'm just like, all right, I've been around firearms. It's just you go down certain places in the country, you see a lot more prevalent. I live up here in a more suburban area in the east, and the thing I see it as is if something happens here, if I call the police, within 5 minutes I'm going to have a couple cruisers here. On other places, you might be lucky if you get 45-hour response time if the sheriff is around and stuff. So it's just completely different culture. So my last thoughts are the life of the city mouse is different than the life of the country mouse.
Yeah, no memes. Seriously, if we call 911, we could get lucky, alright? There could be an Oregon state trooper somewhere on patrol close by. Chances are, there's not. We're looking at Lane County Sheriff's or Springfield Police Department. And that's a 45-minute drive. So if somebody is invading my house, trying to kidnap my children or rape my wife, I would prefer to own a gun. Alright? Because that bumper sticker, to me, is not fake. The police will be there in minutes. You have seconds.
Well, we have a wide diversity of cultures and situations within our great country itself.
Yeah. Yeah, half of the U.S. lives in rural areas, some of which don't even get, 911 services, many of which are like an hour away. You have one police officer per 1 to 2,000 citizens, so expecting someone else to protect you and you and 2,000 people constantly is just kind of a pipe dream. There's a big difference whenever you're living in a gated community with, you know, 8 other millionaires and you have your own armed guards than, you know, someone lives out in the country or the rural areas where you have coyotes and bears and criminals, and you know there is no one there to protect you. And it seems to be that the primary people that want gun control are those living in ivory towers, telling the whole rest of the country
How to live. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And this we recorded this for Mad Dogs Productions. This was a Madden Friends short story, or short response maybe. I appreciate everybody for watching. I hope this format was good for you guys. If it is, then we might do it a few more times a week. Thank you very much. We're out of here.